Confidence is loud today. We see it in bold claims, loud voices, curated profiles, and perfect performances. Everyone wants to look certain, to dominate a room, to radiate the kind of presence that draws attention. But Niccolò Machiavelli saw something different, something colder, sharper, and infinitely more dangerous. He understood that the most powerful trait of truly confident people isn't noise. It's control. Not control over others, but over themselves. In The Prince, Machiavelli doesn't talk about self-esteem or charisma. He talks about fortuna, luck, and virtù, not virtue as we think of it but personal power. The capacity to shape events rather than be shaped by them. To respond strategically, not impulsively. And what makes this possible at the root is restraint. The confident don't need to prove they're confident. They just are. And they show it in how little they react. That's the paradox Machiavelli saw long before modern psychology. True confidence isn't expressive, it's selective. It's measured. The people most in control of outcomes are rarely the loudest in the room. They watch more than they speak. They act when it matters, not to be seen but to be effective. The insecure seek visibility. The truly confident seek leverage. Confidence isn't about being fearless. It's about being immune to provocation. The world will test you, insult you, ignore you. The confident don't flinch. They don't chase validation. They don't need to win every battle. Because they're playing a longer game. Machiavelli understood this instinct better than anyone. He knew that power isn't a matter of force. It's a matter of timing, perception, and patience. Look at any stable ruler in The Prince. They aren't the most aggressive. They're the most composed. They know when to wait, when to speak, when to strike, and most importantly, when to walk away. This ability to restrain oneself, to not act out of emotion or desperation, is the mark of true internal authority. Machiavelli was often accused of cynicism. But he wasn't a nihilist, he was a realist. He knew that life and especially leadership is chaotic, unpredictable, often unfair. And the person who expects it to be otherwise is constantly rattled. But the confident man expects turbulence. He welcomes it. He builds himself not on applause but on preparedness. Not on certainty but on adaptability. And that's what makes him dangerous. Because you can't manipulate someone who doesn't need your approval. You can't scare someone who has mastered their own fear. You can't rush someone who has nothing to prove. That's what Machiavelli saw in the most effective leaders, the absence of inner chaos. Not because they were calm by nature but because they had conquered themselves. The insecure want power to compensate for weakness. The confident use power as an extension of already existing self-command. There's no desperation in them. No thirst for validation. They aren't moved by flattery or panic. They don't need to dominate to feel important. That's what makes their influence lasting. And their presence unsettling. To Machiavelli, the truly confident person is a strategist, not a showman. Their power doesn't live in their words but in the space between them. In the decisions they don't make impulsively. In the silence they maintain when others are panicking. This is how they win, not by being louder but by being smarter. By seeing further. And by acting only when action matters. In a world of performance, real confidence is almost invisible. But it shapes everything. In the world Machiavelli described, one of treachery, instability, shifting alliances, the most powerful person is not the one who speaks first or loudest. It's the one who waits, who watches, who lets others reveal themselves. In a time when kings were overthrown for one misstep, restraint wasn't just a virtue, it was a survival strategy. And Machiavelli's true prince, the embodiment of confident power, is not impulsive. He's surgical. He plays the long game. Because he has nothing to prove. This is the secret trait of real confidence, the strength to withhold. To not react immediately. To not explain yourself to everyone. To let things unfold without rushing to control every moment. The truly confident don't speak to be heard. They speak to shift the outcome. And when silence is more powerful, they choose silence. In Machiavelli's world, and in ours, most people talk too much, reveal too much, defend themselves too quickly. Because they confuse visibility with strength. But the confident understand that mystery is a kind of currency. That restraint builds tension. That holding back power makes it more potent when it's finally used. This is why Machiavelli's prince succeeds. He's feared not because he is cruel but because he's unreadable. Because people can't predict his next move. Because he doesn't act out of ego. He acts with calculation. And that calculation is only possible when you're not constantly reacting to everything around you. This doesn't mean passivity. The truly confident are not passive, they're selective. They move decisively when it counts. But they know how to wait. They know that most battles are won not by force, but by watching your enemy exhaust themselves. And in life, as in politics, many people defeat themselves before you ever touch them. What gives the confident this edge? Inner stillness. They don't need noise to feel alive. They don't chase conflict to prove their toughness. Their strength is not a pose, it's a foundation. It doesn't wobble when challenged. It doesn't seek applause. And that makes it hard to undermine. Think about the people who radiate real confidence. They speak little, but when they do, every word hits. They don't rush to defend themselves, because they know their worth isn't up for negotiation. They don't take every opportunity because they understand the value of scarcity. They say no, often. They are not aggressive, but they are immovable. They are not cold, but they are unshaken. Machiavelli knew that this kind of presence is what earns respect, not demand for it. When you are composed under pressure, when you don't panic, when you can sit with uncertainty without forcing an outcome, people trust you. Even if they fear you. Especially then. Because they sense that you are not being driven by impulse. You're being guided by intent. The insecure chase moments. The confident build legacies. But this doesn't come naturally. It has to be built. And Machiavelli was clear. The prince must train his mind just as a warrior trains the body. He must study human nature. He must learn when to be kind and when to be ruthless. And most importantly, he must not let fortune, luck, fate, chaos, dictate his character. This is true for all of us. We may not be rulers, but we rule our own lives. And if you want that life to be yours, not shaped by the noise, not defined by others, then you have to master the art of restraint. The art of self-governance. To become the kind of person who moves with purpose, not panic. Who speaks because it matters, not because they're afraid of silence. In the end, Machiavelli didn't write for cowards or tyrants. He wrote for those who understood the weight of power and the discipline it demands. He knew that true confidence isn't loud. It's quiet. It's stable. It doesn't beg to be seen. It chooses when to appear. So if you want to walk through the world with real power, remember this. Don't announce it. Don't perform it. Become so composed that your silence speaks louder than their noise. That is what Machiavelli knew. And that is what the world still doesn't understand. In today's world, where confidence is often confused with noise, and visibility mistaken for value, the truly powerful move differently. They aren't performing for attention, they're watching, choosing, waiting. Machiavelli understood that real strength is internal. It's not about overpowering others. It's about mastering yourself. The confident don't need to convince anyone. Their silence speaks, their restraint commands, their presence unsettles. Not through arrogance but through control. In a culture that demands constant proof, their refusal to explain is power. The fewer moves you make, the more each one matters. And that's what Machiavelli left us with, the reminder that lasting influence doesn't come from force, it comes from discipline. From knowing when to act, when to hold, and when to simply let the world reveal itself.